good morning, Glue Troopers. Max and Max's Models here. If you've ever built a kit model of an Eastern Airlines aircraft, you're probably familiar with who Frank Borman is. And unfortunately, I just saw that Frank passed away at the age of 95. For those who are unfamiliar with the Colonel, Frank Borman was a West Point graduate who went on to be both a Gemini and Apollo astronaut. In fact, he commanded the first crew, Apollo 8, that actually went to the moon, although they did not land. They did some racetracks around it and then came back. And he later, in 1970, when he retired from the Air Force, he went to Eastern Airlines, where he remained until 1986, and he was actually the head of the airline for most of that time. He was the person who got the 757 on board at Eastern, and that's kind of a story in its own right. Borman is the first member of the Apollo 8 crew to pass away. His old Gemini mate, Jim Lovell, is still with us at 95, and his Apollo crew, which was, again, Jim Lovell and Bill Anders, are both still with us. Bill's 90 right now, and they were, until Frank passed, I believe, the only Apollo crew where all the crew members were still alive. But Frank had an interest in aviation going back to his earliest years. He flew for his entire life as long as he was able. He stayed active in general aviation. And he's an interesting guy. Some people think he was controversial, but he was all business. And you could go on and say a lot of things about Frank. He was a really impressive individual. I never had the opportunity to meet him, but we've lost another one of the Apollo astronauts, and that's too bad. And I've built models of pretty much most of the things that he flew. The thing that made Apollo 8 different than most of the rest of the Apollos is they did not carry a lunar module with them, since they were not going to land. Borman and his crew were the ones that read from the book of Genesis while they were orbiting the moon and took the famous photo, which they think was probably taken by Bill Anders. They later got sued by an atheist for reading from the Bible while in a government-sponsored vehicle. At the time, she lost a lawsuit, but who knows how that would go today, but that's another story. A person who was influential in aerospace, NASA, the moon mission, and the airline industry is gone. Frank Borman, at the age of 95, has gone west.